Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Friday Eve. Thursday. It's Thursday. It is almost Friday, almost end of the week. It's been a good week. It's been a good week. Some weeks are like, whoo, Jesus, get me to Friday. This one has not been overly taxing, at least for me. I pray that you've had a somewhat tranquil week. Does not mean that things have not transpired and that there have not been issues. It just means that, like I woke up hearing about my most holy faith yesterday. It just means that, I have zeroed in to my most holy faith. And in the midst of all of it, I know God is. Okay, just that. God is. And you can put whatever adjective you want to that statement. God is. All right. Our nugget for today. Your spin cycle has purpose. I was listening to my spiritual father last night for Bible study, Dr. Deontay Atkinson, and he was dropping some real bombs, some serious nuggets last night. And so I'm writing and I'm making my notes and what have you. And it was just like, it was really, you know how sometimes you can be in the midst of a teaching and your spirit is just going, whoa, really? Wow. Hey, that's deep. That's kind of how I felt last night. It was really cool. But like I said, I took some notes, and he was talking about cycles. And a lot of times we are in cycles and we don't understand why we're in the cycles. And, he talked about the learning experience in the midst of the cycles and what have you. But he said something really, really profound in the fact that every cycle has a purpose. Every cycle has a purpose. And so he equated that with like the cycles of a washing machine. You have the wash where supposedly the dirt is getting out, and then he gave like the old adage that our elders used to say: if it don't come out in the wash, it'll come out in the rinse. So it's like, so you have that wash cycle where the dirt is being loosed and getting and you're getting rid of it, and then you have the rinse cycle to rinse out the dirt and to rinse out the soap and what have you. Then he touched on the spin cycle. And he said, a lot of times we find ourselves in that spin cycle. Here's what his exact quote was, and it just was like, wow, to me. He said, God allows disorientation of your mind so you learn to trust Him with your heart. God will allow the disorientation of your mind so that you will learn to trust Him with your heart. In other words, in that spin cycle, it's just like, you can hear it. Like if you have a tennis shoe in the wash, in the dryer, or in the washer rather, and you can just hear it. You can just hear it. But think about in a spin cycle within your mind is just going, it's just going, it's just going. And sometimes there is a disorientation in that spinning. You're trying to rationalize things. You're trying to make things make sense to you. And when I really pondered on that, God will allow a disorientation of your mind so that your mind stops being in control of the situation. Thank you, Holy Spirit. That just dropped. Your mind will stop being in control of the situation so that you can turn it over to your heart. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So your mind sometimes has to be disoriented so that it does not make sense in your mind, so then that you can rely on the process in your heart, because that's where God is. If all you're trying to do is rationalize everything in your head, you're going to miss God, because his thoughts are far greater than your thoughts. Remember that. All right. But when you turn it off in your mind and give it to your heart where God resides, then he can think his thoughts through you. Holy Spirit on a roll this morning. He can think his thoughts through you. So that disorientation has a purpose. It has a purpose. Here's another note that I wrote down. Pastor didn't say it, but I wrote it down because I heard this in the spirit. Sometimes the wait is so God can be glorified. So we are forever like, when, Lord, when, Lord, I'm there. When, Lord, I've been waiting. I've been patient. I'm waiting. Sometimes the wait is so that God can be glorified. And I'll take you back to Mary and Martha and Lazarus. Because Mary and Martha was like, you know what? Lord, had you been here, my brother wouldn't have died. But he purposely delayed his coming. And in purposely delaying his coming, where there would have been a healing, there was a resurrection, which was far greater, far more profound. And God got so much more glory out of it, out of the resurrection, as opposed to just the healing. So just know that there is a purpose in your wait. There is a purpose in the cycles that you are going through. There is a purpose in the delay, not the deny. And well, if there is a denial, there's a purpose in that too. And you want to thank God for the denials, okay? Because if he said no, then it wasn't for you. There was a reason. He's protecting you. But in that delay, where a lot of us find ourselves, there is a purpose. And when he shows up and that resurrection happens, that thing that you thought was dead, that thing that you thought could not be resuscitated, and he shows up and he resurrects it, OMG, the power that is in that, the power and the glory that is in that. Just, it blows our mind. So do not give up hope. Do not weary in well doing. Do not let your season and your cycles that you're going through cause you to lose heart. Trust him in the midst of it and know that he's got you. He's got you, and all is well. You have to get into that place of submission and resting in him, knowing all is well. I'm getting longer and longer with these nuggets in the morning now. I apologize, y'all. I'm going to go. But I pray that this was a blessing to you. Seriously. Trust him in your cycle and know that every cycle has a purpose. All right? All right. I love you with the love of Christ. You already know you can't do a thing about it. And Lord willing, we'll catch this on the flip side tomorrow. All right.